Hey guys, welcome back to Mo's Game Table. Today we're going to take a look inside Europe Divided, a competitive game of post-Cold War influence over Europe. This is a game designed by David Thompson and Chris Marling and published by Phalanx Games. Just got this in the mail, so I wanted to open up, share a look inside with you all, so that way you guys know what to expect if you're interested in this game, so you can go ahead and place your order for it if you've not already done so. So let's take a look at the back of the box and see what this game's all about. It says here, a game of expansionist Europe, a resurgent Russia, and a new Cold War. The end of the Cold War ushered in a new age of European expansion. Central and Eastern Europe had emerged from dictatorships and wanted to consolidate their democracies. They sought European integration to ensure they would not fall back into the Russian sphere of influence. Russia, a shell of its former power as the Soviet Union, could do nothing to slow the European expansion. But then things changed. Oil prices increased, bolstering Russia's economy. Putin came to power, and despite political discontent in Russia, his popularity remained strong. In 2008, war broke out between Russia and the NATO aspirant, former Soviet country of Georgia. Russia's resurgence had begun, exemplified by the 2014 annexation of Crimea and the invasion of eastern Ukraine. In the game, you control one of the two powers, Europe, controlling both NATO and the European Union, or Russia. Europe is powerful and rich, but bureaucratic and slow to react. Russia lacks Europe's resources, but can respond rapidly. Players score victory points by having dominant influence in contested countries in Central Europe, Eastern Europe, and the Caucasus. They can also score victory points by bringing key historical events to fruition. Gameplay is rich with history and includes today's potential flashpoints, but it features a fast-playing, card-driven core mechanism. Players use cards associated with countries they control to establish political and military influence, gain financial resources, and deploy their military presence. An elegant deck manipulation mechanism weakens players' decks as they increase their influence, creating tension between seeking to expand and overreaching. Will the Velvet Revolution result in the split of the Czech Republic and Slovakia? How will the Bosnian War end? The players will decide the fate of history throughout this period of Europe Divided. Europe Divided features asymmetric skill-based gameplay, unique and up-to-date geopolitical theme, tense and replayable, card-driven game mechanics, and stunning graphic design. And you can see here is an example of the map, and then you have your cards, some counters, and the dice that are going to use to represent your influence throughout the map. So let's take a look inside and see what you get. There we get our rule book, player aids, our counters, or tokens in this case, map board, whole mess of baggies, big bag of dice, and 2 decks of cards. So let's set up the map, take a closer look at the game. And here's a look at the matted board that comes with the game. It is all of Europe, all the way through into Russia. You got the UK up in the top left, Spain and Portugal down here, all the way through the Med. Then we get into Turkey, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, and the Black Sea, Caspian Sea over here, all the way up to Russia, the Nordic countries up there as well. Everything is very easy to understand where it's at because it's all delineated with these nice big thick borders. The cities and major locations within them are also easy to understand. You have the forthcoming headline and current headline tracks for both NATO and Russia up at the top. Then you have the 20-turn turn track at the bottom and an energy sector in the top right. And being that this is a game driven by cards, there are different types of decks in the game. These are some NATO cards, and we'll just talk about these for a second. These are the Europe action cards. These are the Europe Advantage cards, and these are contested area cards. And how you can tell the difference between the contested cards and the Europe Action cards is just by looking at the bottom. The contested regions are in gray, and the Europe Action cards are in green. And we see the same for Russia. We have the Action cards, the Advantage cards, and the contested region cards. And we'll take a look at a couple of the headline cards, which are used to drive gameplay. These are almost like tarot-sized cards, as you can see, nice big cards. And they're broken down into 2 eras. There are 2 different eras in the game, 92 to 2008 and 2009 to 2019. And we'll take a look at the player aids that come with the game. When I was looking at them, they look like they are a little bit different, but glancing through the text, it looks like they are the same as far as the information. I might have missed something, but just the formatting is a little different. So we'll just look at the NATO card itself. It breaks down the entire turn sequence for you, all the steps you can do, and then when you draw your cards. And then on the back has the headline segment steps for turns 2 through 20. Now we'll take a look at the counter sheet that comes with the game. At the top, we have our currency for NATO, and on the back, we have the currency for Russia, And we have our sea control markers for NATO and Russia. We've got our army markers for Russia and NATO, turn marker, the EU fractured marker, and then prestige markers for both Russia and Europe. We'll take a look inside the rules. This is a 20-page rulebook, and on the front cover you have the contents, and it also explains to you the premise of the game. On the inside cover we have a components breakdown for you, and then the setup illustrated, nicely done, and the supporting text for that. Then we get into playing a game on page 4. We start off with some illustrated examples up there on the top of page 5, and it explains to you all the different game steps which you can follow along with on your player aid card. Then it gives you the action cards and how to read those, the anatomy of those, as well as how they're handled in the game with illustrated examples. You can see plenty of illustrated examples throughout this rulebook, making it much more easier to understand and learn the game. They get into the action cards, effects and reactions, military presence, army versus army. Then we get into the army versus influence dice, Baltic Sea, Black Sea on the sea cards. Then we have the advantage cards here, headlines. Again, plenty of illustrated examples of play to help support the text, so that way you can better grok how each of these steps are handled. Special turns, and then we get to determining victory on page 17. Then we have the headline card conditions on page 18, headline cards for period 1, and then the headline cards for period 2 on the back of the book. And that is a look at everything you get inside of Europe Divided, a competitive game of post-Cold War influence over Europe, designed by David Thompson and Chris Marling, and published by Phalanx Games. Now, you know, Phalanx does just amazing production quality. U-Boat was off the charts. This one is just top-notch. And obviously the first thing that comes to mind when you look at it is Twilight Struggle. Definitely has that vibe, but it's its own animal. This is a different type of game. It shares similarity in the area of the world, you know, primarily being Europe. When it comes to Twilight Struggle, it's the entire globe, but here it's just Europe. It has a kind of similar vibe, but Twilight Struggle is pure card-driven. This has cards in the game. They do drive the action, but not in the same way that they do with Twilight Struggle. So I think it's great that you have two different games that are similar yet different, and they both can fit in the same space. And then we also have another Twilight Struggle, Horn of Africa, which is coming out, a later game. So that will be also another one to play. I love these geopolitical games like this because it really is a good challenge and good fun to play. The only thing for this is there is no solitaire component to this game. So if you're going to play to learn the game, you're going to need to play it two-handed, which is fine to learn the game. But to really get the most out of it, you need to play competitively face-to-face. So I hope that helps you guys out if you've been curious about this one. If you have any comments or questions, post them down below. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time.